Yep, you read the title of today's video correctly. I am back with another Colleen Hoover reading vlog. If I'm being honest, I needed a break from Miss Colleen Hoover because her books are heavy. They tend to have happy endings, which I'm so grateful for, and I found myself reading back-to-back Colleen Hoover books and feeling sad. I definitely was in need of a Colleen Hoover reading break, but I'm back at it. And for today's video, I am reading Reminders of Him. I have been saving this book for this specific reading vlog, so I'm so excited to finally be able to read it with you guys. So if you don't know what this book is about, I'll quickly read the back cover for you. After serving 5 years in prison for a tragic mistake, Kenna returns to the town where it all went wrong, hoping to reunite with her 4-year-old daughter. But the bridges Kenna burned are proving impossible to rebuild. The only person who hasn't closed the door on her completely is Ledger Ward. But if anyone were to discover how Ledger is slowly becoming an important part of Kenna's life, both would risk losing the trust of everyone important to them. Kenna must find a way to absolve the mistakes of her past in order to build a future out of hope and healing. My heart is about to break into a million little pieces with this book. I already know it. If you haven't watched any of my other reading vlogs before, as I read the book, I will share my thoughts and opinions, but I won't spoil any major plots of the book. At the end of this reading vlog, once I finish Reminders of Him, I'll give you guys my honest thoughts and opinions. At that point, I will include some spoilers just so I can dissect the book with you guys. Of course, I'll definitely give you a warning beforehand so I don't spoil the book in case you haven't read it. But if you have a copy of Reminders of Him, grab it and follow along. If you don't have a copy, or if you are still trying to figure out if you want to read it, grab a snack, grab a drink, and let's get to reading. Oh wow, this book came out this year in 2022. I'm actually not late for a book release. I'm shocked. I didn't know that this came out this year. Chapter 1, Kenna. There's a small wooden cross staked into the ground on the side of the road with the date of his death written on it. Alright, we're just going to dive right in, I guess. In every book that I've read by Colleen Hoover, the first sentence always does a great job of grabbing my attention from the get-go. Her first sentence of every book is always so blunt and so dramatic, sometimes even scary. I think Verity had the most shocking first sentence for me, but this one is just very dark. The two main characters, Kenna and Ledger, just met for the very first time, and of course they're super attracted to one another, but they don't even know each other's names yet. This book is about to get very exciting. I just learned what landed Kenna in jail 5 years ago. Well, I learned that there was a tragedy that resulted in someone's death, but I still don't have all the details of what happened that night, and I'm super curious to find out what happened and how exactly she ended up behind bars. I just read this quote that tugs at my heart. As soon as he gives his attention to someone at the other end of the bar, I take a drink of my coffee and close my eyes and cry because life can be so fucking cruel and hard, and I've wanted to quit living it so many times. But then moments like these remind me that happiness isn't some permanent thing we're all trying to achieve in life. It's merely a thing that shows up every now and then, sometimes in tiny doses that are just substantial enough to keep us going. That is such a sad quote, but if you've ever been in a dark place, that quote makes so much sense. Super sad, but it has some truth to it. Kenna and Ledger just had their first kiss. Ledger is completely mind blown from the kiss. Kenna is actually devastated because upon learning his name, she figured out that he's actually connected to her past, not necessarily in a good way. He just thinks that she's a random woman that is new to his town and just happened to stop by his bar, and he's extremely attracted to her. That's all he knows about Kenna. Wow. I have a feeling he's going to be so upset once he learns who Kenna truly is. I like Roman. Oh man, the obstacle between Kenna and Ledger is huge. Huge. And I'm not even referring to Kenna's daughter. There's something else that is going to hang between them. It's going to be really hard for them to overcome. Even though this book is pretty deep, there's a couple side characters that are actually really witty and funny and add a lightheartedness touch to the book, which I appreciate. This book just referenced Orange is the New Black, and I've actually never watched that show, but I remember it being super popular back in the day. It was just never a type of show that I was interested in watching, but I find it funny that it's referenced in this book since Kenna went to prison. Did you guys ever watch that show? I think it's on Netflix, or Netflix created it, produced it, I don't know. Oh my god, you guys. This book is heavy. I'm definitely going to be reading a rom-com after this book because my heart is just broken right now. Shit is about to go down, you guys. Can you focus? Okay, so Ledger just found out who Kenna really is. He is pissed. With good reason. I honestly can't even blame him for being upset with Kenna. I would be upset too. But now he thinks that Kenna knew all along who he was and manipulated him in an effort to get close to her daughter. Safe to say that their relationship is no longer the same as it was the first night that they met. Ledger's bartender and friend Roman, who I like his character, just called Ledger out for being too harsh on Kenna, and I honestly feel like he called me out too because I've been on Ledger's side. I've been agreeing with everything Ledger said, but then as soon as Roman called him out and he brought some good points, I was like, okay, maybe Ledger and I are being a little too harsh on Kenna right now. I still don't know the whole story of what happened 5 years ago. Colleen Hoover is basically giving the reader bits and pieces here and there. I know that there's going to be a twist. There's always a twist in every Colleen Hoover book, so I know that I shouldn't take what I'm reading right now as 100% the truth, because Colleen Hoover is going to throw me in for a loop at some point in this book. I already know, but I can't help but feeling a little angry towards Kenna and siding with Ledger. Just can't help it. Okay guys, just read the first 100 pages. I just got to chapter 15. I have a few thoughts that I want to share with you guys. I'm really enjoying the format of this book so far. I'm getting to read Kenna's point of view as well as Ledger's point of view. And if you have been watching my reading vlogs for a hot minute, you know that I absolutely love when I get to hear both main characters' point of view, specifically the males. This book is definitely heavy. It's not a hearts and butterflies type of book, but honestly, what book from Colleen Hoover is all about hearts and butterflies? I haven't read one yet. I knew that this book was going to be heavy going into it, so that honestly did not take me by surprise. I will say that I find this book a little slow. I think for this book, Colleen Hoover really wants the reader to understand how tragedy can affect different people and how people choose to grieve differently, which is why I think it's a little bit slow, but I honestly don't mind it. I'm still really enjoying the book. It's just not as fast-paced as some of her other books. Kenna's mom is so shitty. Honestly, some people just don't deserve to have kids. That makes me so sad, but so angry at the same time, because your role as a mother is to protect your children, and it makes me so sad whenever I hear stories of the opposite happening. And Kenna's mom definitely was a crappy mom. She abandoned her daughter when her daughter needed her the most. Not only that, but she abandoned her granddaughter. I just can't. Ledger just said that he feels like he's getting loyalty whiplash, and honestly, same. I honestly don't know who to feel bad for, because I feel bad for everyone. I feel bad for Ledger, I feel bad for Kenna, for Kenna's daughter's grandparents. Everyone in this story is suffering. They're all right to a certain degree. So I honestly feel like I'm getting loyalty whiplash right now. I don't know whose side to take in this book. Ledger is finally feeling bad for Kenna, and he's actually questioning his hatred for her over the last 5 years, but he still finds himself in an impossible situation because he feels bad for Kenna somewhat, but he also feels bad for Kenna's daughter and her grandparents. It truly is an impossible situation that he's in, and he just showed Kenna pictures and videos of her daughter. Obviously Kenna is over the moon because she's never actually met her daughter or even held her, so she's super happy to finally be able to meet her, or at least see her through a video or through the pictures that Ledger is showing her. So it's actually a really sweet moment in the book, and one that was needed. Kenna's daughter is hilarious. I love her little spunky attitude. It just brings so much joy and so much lightheartedness to the book. Have I mentioned how much I love Roman? He is the only one that calls out Ledger on his bullshit, and I'm here for it. Okay guys, Kenna and Ledger finally let their guards down and things got spicy between them. Finally! But I know Miss Colleen Hoover, so I know that this happiness is only going to last a few more pages and shit is about to go down. I already know. This book has so many good quotes, but this is another quote that just hit home, and it's also very accurate. It's on point. It goes, "It is what it is. A fucked up situation with no evil people to blame. We're all just a bunch of sad people doing what we have to do to make it until tomorrow. Some of us sadder than others, some of us more willing to forgive than others. Grudges are heavy, but for the people hurting the most, I suppose forgiveness is even heavier." 100% agree with that quote. Wow, that quote perfectly summarizes this whole book. I don't think anyone is entirely in the wrong in this book. I also don't think anyone is entirely right. I think that all the characters in this book are just in an impossible situation, and they're all trying to cope with that tragedy the best way that they know how to. You really, as a reader, can't be mad at anyone in this book because they're all suffering, and there's also a lot of truth in that quote about real life. Guys, I'm about to learn exactly what happened 5 years ago that landed Kenna in prison. Not only am I going to learn what happened, but Ledger is about to learn the truth, the 100% truth. I don't think I'm ready. I literally want to cry right now. Now that I've forgiven myself, the reminders of him only make me smile. What? Fuck me, my heart. That was such a beautiful ending. So I'm reading the acknowledgements. I actually really enjoy reading these, especially Colleen Hoover's acknowledgements. In this paragraph, Colleen Hoover was basically talking about how she couldn't really provide a location for the book because she felt like the story could basically take place anywhere in the world. This sentence in particular is honestly 100% true. No matter how whole our neighbors appear on the outside, we have no idea how many broken pieces they're made up of on the inside. You truly never know what another person is going through. They may appear perfect, they may appear to have all the things that you may want, they may appear to have their shit together, like they don't have any problems in the world, but that is not always the case. Well, I don't think that's ever the case, because it doesn't matter how much money you have, it doesn't matter how old you are, where you're from, where you are currently in the world. Everyone has problems. Everyone's problems may look different, but again, you just never know what another person may be going through. I think that's why as a society we need to do a better job at being nice to one another. There's so much hatred in this world, and especially online, people just feel like they have the right to say whatever the fuck they want without even realizing that there's actually someone behind that computer screen or that phone screen reading their comments, that there's an actual human being. We just need to be kinder to one another, and I think that this book is a great reminder of that, because again, you just never know what another person may be going through. Also, I thought it was pretty funny that Colleen Hoover wrote, "But I also want to apologize for never being able to write romantic comedies, no matter how much I tried. I started this one thinking it was going to be a romantic comedy, but obviously the characters weren't in the mood for that. Maybe next time. I actually was wondering if Colleen Hoover has ever written a romantic comedy. Like I told you guys at the beginning of this vlog, all the books that I've read so far from Colleen Hoover are super heavy. So I thought it was funny that she actually acknowledged that at the end of this book and was like, I'm sorry, I'm incapable of writing a romantic comedy. I mean, her books are still amazing. This one specifically, I don't know, just touched me. If you want to know what I think about this book without me spoiling the plot for you, I mean, I finished it in one sitting, so what does that tell you? Absolutely loved it. Highly recommend this book. 4 out of 5 stars. I think it was amazingly written. I love the characters. I love the story. It deals with a lot of heavy topics such as death and grief. So if that's a trigger for you, I would not advise for you to read this book because it weighed heavily on me, and I honestly have no experience with either death or grief. So I can only imagine how this book would affect someone that has dealt with death and grief. Definitely keep that in mind if you are easily affected by heavy topics such as those. Now, this is the part of the video where I will include a little bit of spoilers. So if you don't want to hear any spoilers at all, this is the time where you should exit the video, and then you can come back to this part of the video once you've read Reminders of Him. As I was reading this book, I felt every emotion you could think of. I felt happy, I felt angry, I felt sad, I felt anxious, roller coaster of emotions. Whenever I thought that I knew whose side to be on, whenever I thought I knew the full story, I was proven wrong time and time again. As Colleen Hoover likes to do in her books, she loves to prove the reader wrong. As soon as you think you know what's going on, she pulls the rug right off under you. All the characters in this book were put in a very impossible situation. They were all suffering. They were all trying to cope in the only ways that they knew how to. The death of a loved one will have that effect on you, especially when the death of a loved one was caused by something that could have been avoidable, and especially when you don't know the full story. And that's exactly what happened in this book. Kenna made a huge mistake, a fatal mistake. She got behind the wheel of a car knowing that she shouldn't have been driving, and unfortunately that caused the accident of her boyfriend, of the love of her life. When that happened, she made one mistake after the other, led by guilt, led by feeling afraid, led by devastation, led by sadness. No one really knew exactly what happened after she crashed that car. She never really told her side of the story. So of course Scott's family was going to make their own assumptions, and they were going to brand Kenna as someone who just did not care that she took someone else's life, even if it was on accident, even if she didn't mean to. She still took their son away. So I definitely understood Scott's family's point of view, and I understood their grief and their hesitation to want to interact with Kenna again. But then I also understood Kenna's point of view as well. Like, that tragedy weighed heavily on her, and that's something that she's going to have to deal with for the rest of her life, especially with the fact that she gave birth to Scott's daughter in prison. And then Ledger, of course, was caught in the middle because he was best friends with Scott, so obviously he had this idea in his mind of who Kenna was and the type of person that she must have been in order to not show any remorse for causing the death of Scott. And then the fact that Scott actually survived 6 hours after the car accident, and that he was crawling around looking for help. Like, oh my god, my heart just tore up when I read that. I did not need that image in my head, but now it lives there, and I could not imagine a family member hearing that about someone that they loved being alive 6 hours after an accident, and the person that caused the accident didn't even attempt to get help for them. Hope to God I never have to find out, because I just don't know if I'd be able to live knowing that. Obviously, I understand Ledger's hesitation to get to know Kenna once he found out who she was. He, poor thing, was caught in the middle between Scott's parents and Kenna, who he ended up falling in love with. And of course, I understand Kenna. She has this immense remorse and guilt for what she caused. Not only that, but she's struggling to prove that she's worthy of her daughter. What are you looking at? Is there a bug? What a beautiful ending. Absolutely absolutely broke my heart, but I could have not thought of a better ending to this book. Colleen Hoover did it again. Wow. That ending tugged at my heart. At the end, when Scott's parents forgave Kenna and allowed her to be a part of her daughter's life, because they obviously had full custody, so it was up to them. The fact that they forgave her just showed what type of people they were and how big their hearts were, because even as I was reading that, and even though I knew Kenna's story and why she did what she did, I still don't know if I'd be able to look at her every single day. But I guess having a little girl in the picture changes things, and obviously the grandparents wanted to do what was best for the little girl, and every little girl needs her mother. I don't know if I'd be able to do the same thing. What type of person does that make me? I don't know. 4 out of 5 stars. Honestly, absolutely loved reading it. I probably won't be reading it ever again because of how heavy it was. That's the only reason I don't give it 5 out of 5 stars. But if you haven't read Reminders of Him, definitely read it. I can't recommend this book enough. Just go read it. If you have read Reminders of Him, let me know in the comments below what you thought about this book. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Do you agree with my opinion, my thoughts? I would love to know. And that's pretty much it for today's reading vlog. Really hope you guys enjoyed watching. If you did, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. I would love to have you a part of my channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.